Hello, my listeners, and thank you for returning to the final chapter of Act 1 of the Regiment of the Damned, Sergeant Brock Johnson Files. In this chapter, you will hear Dr. Wilson explain Joel's suit and other peculiar findings. So, as always, sit back, relax, put on those imagination caps. As you listen to Chapter 4, A Dead Albatross Tells No Secrets. Chapter 4, A Dead Albatross Tells No Secrets. 36 hours after the fall of the walls. Inquisitor Callus, looking into the black monitor and putting his right hand on the spot where Commissar Thaddeus was on the screen. He wonders who else he could talk to before it gets too far out of his hands. He notices a presence behind him. Looking back, he sees Captain Invictus standing there, not knowing how long he was behind him. Thinking he must be more tired than he thought. Looking at his watch, he sees he has been up for 100 hours straight, not a personal best, but pushing it. Captain Invictus, looking down at Inquisitor Callus, noticing his tired face and body movement.
Inquisitor, looks like you need some rest. There is no shame in taking a break. I just received word from my chapter master about a video that Joel sent out and the reports of his final stand before the salamanders were able to extract him safely, although he did take some damage. He is in the recovery room and the apothecary says he should be well enough to speak in a couple of hours. Right now, he is sedated until Chief Librarian Tagurius can look at him. He is off limits to everyone, including yourself, Inquisitor.
You mean the thing, Captain? And how dare you limit the access of an Inquisitor? Remember who reports to who, Captain.
Invictus, pointing all of his fingers inside his power fist towards Callus, just inches from his chest plate.
Silence, Inquisitor Callus.
Everyone in the room stops to look for a second, then continues on what they were doing. For Battle Brothers from the Salamanders chapter with bold guns in their hands walk over to Captain Invictus' side, staring down Inquisitor Callus. Two of them going behind Callus, surrounding him. Callus looking around, shaking, knowing he is outmatched.
Since the moment you came aboard my ship, you have shown disrespect to every brother here on this ship. Inquisitor or not, I will not tolerate it no more. Joel is not to be touched by anyone, and that is coming directly from my chapter master. His battle report says that he saved a battle brother of the Salamander life by taking a last stand with him. Not only that, he also went back for him after he was mere seconds of being extracted. So do not tell me what to call this thing. His name is Joel. He has suffered enough.
Callus looked around, and then looked dead in the eyes of Captain Invictus.
Like I said earlier, Captain or not, the higher authorities will know about this.
Sliding his hand over his bolt pistol, the 4 Salamander Space Marines take a half step back, raising their bolt guns to the chest of Inquisitor Callus.
Inquisitor, it will be extremely wise of you to go back to your quarters and rest until Joel has recovered.
Very well, Captain, as you wish. Like I said, the higher.
Take him to his quarters and lock the door. He is done for now.
Yes, Captain. Move along, Inquisitor.
Giving a slight bump with his elbow, almost knocking him over, and Callus giving an evil eye. Inquisitor Callus walking down the halls to his quarters, along with 4 Salamander Space Marines. Callus was still holding on to the files he got from the computer just moments earlier, hoping there is something to save from all this, and not just years of wasting time and resources for nothing. At his quarters doors, he stands there waiting for one of them to open the doors. Callus looks up and around, seeing nothing is going to happen. He grabs the door handle in a fit of rage, thinking the last time he had to open his own door was when he was in Scola Progenium.
You are to stay here until you are needed, Inquisitor,
said the one who pushed him to go. The door slammed shut, and the sound of locks closing. Callus walks over to his personal computer to upload the files.
Computer, pull up the medical files.
One moment, Inquisitor Callus. Upload complete. May the Emperor protect you and look over you. The medical files of Dr. Wilson. Name, B.C. Thaddeus. Rank, Commissar. Number, 062390. Homeworld, classified. Age, classified. KIN, classified. Height, 6 feet 4 inches. White, classified. Augmentations, classified. After 32 days of taking command post of 158th Guard Regiment Planet Defense Force, from the earlier Lord General. The subject, Commissar Thaddeus, has shown once again that he will not tell anyone to do something if he is not willing to do it himself. The subject came in after being exposed to the outside air for more than our standard operating procedure (SOP) is allowed for. The subject came in after the subject was able to drag 2 guardsmen to safety, Private Todd and Sergeant Hill. Unfortunately, Commissar Thaddeus was not able to find the Lord General Exton saw. It must be noted 2 witnesses, Private Todd and Sergeant Hill, both confirmed that our Lord General Exton saw wanted them to be saved first, as that is the most honorable thing any lordship can do to their fellow man. Remember the fallen, remember them all. Was reported by Private Todd and Sergeant Hill to be his last dying words when making a last stand at the last checkpoint. The subject's body. The subject's whole body was only held in place due to the uniform being so fitted. The subject's whole vertebrate, optic nerves, and connective tissue were all damaged. Both lungs were only at 8.9% in working order. The hands, arms, and shoulders were only held together by the ligaments fiber. All the ligaments in the subject's body at the time of reading were from 80% to 99% tear. The subject was still very much alive and conscious of everything around. As Commissar Thaddeus was still giving out orders and demanding to see certain individuals by his doors for not moving faster, and allowing such things to even to occur. Standard blood sample taken from the subject showed 7 times the amount needed to kill a regular subject not from this planet, Plexin. After 90 hours of full body rebuild, approved by number JTC 072390. It must be noted that number JTC 072390 was very strongly adamant to withhold anesthesia to make the patient more comfortable. When told that JTC 072390 withhold the anesthesia needed for such operation, the subject's survival rate would be less than 3%. If given the anesthesia, survival rate increases to 86% chance. When finally stabilizing the subject, I found that the subject will only have a 1.47% chance of surviving. End of report. Name, B.C. Thaddeus. Rank, Commissar. Number, 062390. Homeworld, classified. Age, classified. KIN, classified. Height, 6 feet 4 inches. White, classified. Augmentations, classified. 2 days after subject full body rebuild, approved by number JTC 072390. The subject is now at full duty. It must be noted it was not by my own ruling. The subject was very convincing to override my many plus years as a medical provider. At the time of this report, the subject's full basic body movement is still unknown. This is the first time a subject has had this comprehensive full of a body rebuild without the aid of any anesthesia. It must be noted the subject also refuses to come in for checkups. End of report. Medical file of 80085. Name, Joel Bennett. I.D. dog tags. Self-described. Rank, Sergeant, self-given. Number, 80085, self-given. Homeworld, Earth, self-given. Age, 36, self-given. Earth years, self-described. KIN, all dead, self-given. Augmentations, blood scrubber, SOP after 24 hours. The subject Joel was brought to me, Dr. Wilson, just hours ago, 11:34 a.m. The subject was not awake due to being in what Sergeant Johnson says, just standing there looking into the eyes of the thing. With both eyes rolled in the back of his head and whole body not moving until the thing was killed. It must be noted Sergeant Johnson did say the subject's body was so hot that it caused second-degree burns to Private Ortega's hands. Sergeant Johnson then said, after it was killed, the subject fell to the ground. I can only think this thing was linked with the subject and somehow, by killing the thing it severed the connection. As of right now the subject is in stable condition, heart rate is normal but under some strain, blood pressure is normal but under some strain. Just from the looks, I do not believe this subject has been in a space environment for too long considering the age of the subject. The weight of the subject is genuinely concerning. I do believe this subject is the smallest guardsman I have ever seen in my 30-plus years of a medical care provider on Plexen. The subject's body. The subject body has cuts and burns from old wounds, looks to be years old if not older. Bruising or discoloring on the legs, arms, and face. The bruising and discoloration look to be only hours old, more than likely due to re-entry into our atmosphere and the crashing into the green swaps. More detailed notes will be provided later. The subject has short brown hair, brown eyes, and is 5 feet 9 inches with the scars on the back of his neck where we would put the blood scrubber. The subject body weight is 129 pounds. On the back of the subject's body are tattoos. One green dragon, a fat man that is short and smiling with what appears to be giant gold rings as earrings, the letters of USMC, and a round circle with one side black and the other side being white, with one smaller white and black circle on the opposite side of the colors and one stick man who looks angry with a bubble next to its mouth with symbols and letters 0, F, hashtag comma at K, 5 given on the lower ribs with the words, let it go. I have a speculation on what this tattoo means, but as a professional, I will leave it to the imagination of others. The subject did not have the blood scrubber as our SOP to pre-planet landing. I will follow our post-24-hour SOP procedures following a full investigation of the subject's body. As of this report, I have no working theories on how the subject got here. The subject's blood sample was odd. It was too clean, more blood will be needed for other testing. It must be noted I am still in the hypothesis phase. The spacesuit. When the subject came to me, the subject did not have any standard issue clothing given to any guardsman I have seen in my time as a medical care provider. The subject had what looks like or functions as a hazmat spacesuit. The suit itself looks to increase the subject's speed and strength. It must be noted that I am not an engineer or say I am one. The subject's suit has what looks like tubes and cylinders of some type at the shoulder, elbow, knees, and what looks like a back support brace to help with bigger loads on the knees. The technology used for the subject's suit would be considered Stone Age technology. On this suit is over where the left chest plate is. The letters and numbers of ALT model 80085, with a rocket behind it with a small flag on the rocket. The colors on the flag are red, white, and blue with 13 stripes. 7 red and 6 white with a blue box 1/6 the size compared to the whole flag size in the upper left corner, with 50 white stars inside the blue box. On the right side was the subject name Joel. B, with, what the words blood type, O. Will need to evaluate to confirm. The subject suit also had a patch which was glued on and with the words a bullshit meter, with the arrow at being max out in the red. It must be noted that Commissar Thaddeus did smile briefly when looking at it. The suit is a custom fit to the subject from what I have seen so far. The suit has a helmet to support the subject in the vacuum of space and with little to no air environment. As to how long is unknown currently. We'll investigate this subject as soon as the subject is well enough to speak. The back of the suit has the words, Little Titan, with, guiding from within, written right below it, in black ink, with what looks like damage to the back from being worn out. On that area, is some silver tape, about 4 to 6 inches long and about 2 inches wide with the words, made by the lowest bidder, with all the E backwards. The subject's clothing attire. The subject's shirt and pants were not issued from the Imperium Guard in any way. The shirt was black and long at the arms with what looks to be dancing cats in a pit of fire with the words, Hell is full of dancing cats. It must be noted that the moment Commissar Thaddeus' eyes look at this shirt, the whole room felt cold and Dr. Willison, was told to take it out of the environment and tow it to a different environment, still ongoing. The subject's pants were not for working. The subject's pants were yellow, with a picture of 2 big eyes that are blue with a long yellow nose and what looks to be 2 big teeth. Commissar Thaddeus was not pleased with the discipline on this subject attire. At the end of this report, I am to keep the subject asleep for 2 days. During this time, I will give proper care and updates as needed. It must be noted that Commissar Thaddeus has authorized this and after hearing about the side effects. Some being the possibility of permanent lapse in memory, amnesia with short-term memory loss. End of report. The subject's body, second report 24 hours. Name, Joel Bennett. Rank, Sergeant, self-given. Number, 80,085, self-given. Home world, Earth, self-given. Age, 36, self-given, Earth years, self-described. KIN, all dead, self-given. Augmentations, blood scrubber, SOP after 24 hours. In this report you will find the conditions of the subject's body. After making sure my primary duties to the health and care of the subject were taken care of, I took it upon myself to do a further investigation of the subject's body given that there would be no resistance from the subject. I have in my assistance, Servitor Skull 40045. It must be noted I am against using this servitor skull as this one has been known to cause trouble, as if it has its own willpower, but Commissar Thaddeus demanded this servitor skull to be in the presence of the subjects investigating. To prove a timeline, it has just been over 24 hours since the subject arrived at Planet Plaxton and is put into my care. In my earlier report I stated that the subject's body was in stable condition. However, when I took a basic blood sample, the readings from the blood showed that the subject had no signs of any type of air pollution or toxin in the subject's blood. After comparing it with other blood samples from the personnel stationed here on this planet, there are 0 explanations on how the subject's blood is cleaner than someone who was born and raised on Planet Plaxton. Also, on a genetical level the subject's DNA doesn't show signs of any radiation, mutation or anything that will tell where the subject came from. After running the subject's DNA through the database, it shows no immediate next of kin. However, there is a personnel file with a similar genetic code, but when trying to access it, I was denied access. It must be noted I am the top medical personnel of one of the highest authorities and I was not given access to these such files, which are beyond me. The body of the subject has signs of great distress and signs of earlier torture and battle scars. After looking more into each scar, I have understood these scars look to be years old. We are talking about 1,000 to 6,000 years old judging from the layers of cells and skin on top of the scars. Starting at the head I see signs where a torture device was placed and embedded into the skin to get direct current into the brain. Evidence of acid torture is evidence on the left side of the subject's face, easily missed due to the placement of the scars behind the ear. The subject's torso is a jungle of a mess to put it lightly. evidence of metal shrapnel, plasma blasts, stabbing, cutting, and ripping of flesh. It must be noted in my earlier report I stated of discoloration or bruising to the flesh. The areas of that injury are no longer discolored, they are normal flesh color. The subject's back seems to have stars form a whip or lashes as if the subject were tortured. Both front legs look to be normal and proportionate to the body with evidence of osteoarthritis in both knees. Some small cuts and scrapes are on the subject's front legs. There is one scar just above the subject, right knee, which is a perfectly cut scar as if the subject leg were cut off and somehow fixed itself. It also must be noted there are zero signs of any augmentations around the scar. When I had the subject turn over on the subject's chest, I notice a small silver tube lodged within the subject's anal cavity. After extracting it out with the help of E-Servitor Skull 40045, upon opening it up, a small note came out that said, "Remember to grab 5 brooms this time on the way out for Commissar Kane." At the bottom of the note it had P.S. Fine Scully 2, with the Y backwards. It must be noted I have no working theory about this discovery. During the extraction, I noticed the same round scar around the genital area on the subject's body. Besides, any other reason on why someone should be subjected to such torture is beyond me. If I had to place a guess on anything, at this time, and this is pure hypothetical, would be the possibility of running into the Dark Eldar, as they have been known to torture guardsmen and others to the brink of insanity. The subject's left shoulder has evidence of osteoarthritis with evidence of a botched rotator cuff surgery repair job using techniques that are quite literally thousands if not tens of thousands of years old. All other body functions and appearance to be normal, however the eyes do not dilate when exposed to light. It could be a side effect personally felt because of the anesthesia given to put the subject asleep for 2 days. Lastly, inside the mouth of the subject it appears to have 4 wisdom teeth taken out. After closer examination I discovered that the wounds inside the mouth looked to be only days old, if that. More investigations will be needed. Within the hour of ending this report I will put the authorized blood scriber into the subject's back of the neck as per protocol for our SOP. End of report. Name, Joel Bennett. Rank, Sergeant, self-given. Number, 80085. Self-given. Homeworld, Earth, self-given. Age, 36, self-given, Earth years, self-described. KIN, all dead, self-given. Augmentations, blood scrubber. In this report, I will discuss the unusual brain activity when conducting the SOP 24-hour blood scriber with my assistant Servo Skull 40045. It was discovered that the subject has indeed already had a previous scar from an operation for a blood scriber. Upon discovery of such scars, it is evidence that this subject has been on this planet once before. As to how and how long is currently unknown. My evidence is not only physical, but also from my own files from my own work 20 standard years ago. After comparing the files with the readings from the subject's brain activity and mapping imaging, I have come to an irrational but complicated theory, but to prove such theories, I must be given access to a file that only Commissar Thaddeus has authority to. I do believe this file will confirm my theory, as this file will have the brain readings and imagery for the cingulate cortex part, for the subject on file. The cingulate cortex is found above the corpus callosum and around its anterior inni. Most importantly, what's interesting about this part of the brain area is there's data in humans testing showing that when a subject is ordered to do something that they don't want to do, i.e., making planet landfall on an unknown planet that has already been invaded by millions of orcs, knowing that you are going to die a brutal death as soon as you land on said planet, and add 3 hours of exercise per week on that. The data has shown that it grows larger in humans that have seen challenges and have overcome the challenges. Also, humans that live an exceptionally long time have seen this area to keep its size. The anterior mid-cingulate cortex is not just the willpower but will to live. The bigger the cortex, the more the individual will to live. It also correlates to not showing fear, as there is evidence that part of the periaqueductal gray, or PAG, has been removed, or the subject chooses not to activate it even under anesthesia. The stimulation to the area should cause reading on my monitors and nothing is shown. It must be noted server of Skull 40045 was resisting all my commands. I had to repeatedly confirm my orders given to Servitor Skull 40045. Also, it was interesting during the procedure when I was activating pain receptors inside the brain of the subject. 40045 was also having mechanical issues. It must be noted Dr. Wilson believes, the subject is connected to the warp or some entity. It also must be noted, as of right now I do believe Commissar Thaddeus is under the influence of something and this subject is part of it. As soon as communication is re-established with the higher authorities, I'll make sure to contact my NIRS Inquisitor for further guidance.
Callus. Hey, Callus. Callus. I know you can hear me.
Callus wakes up looking at the computer screen in front of him, noticing a small shadowy figure in the upper right corner of the screen. Quickly turning his head back over his right shoulder, not seeing anything.
I am the Alpha and the Omega. You'll never be alone again.
Rubbing his eyes, looking back in front of the screen, he sees a face he has not seen in years, a face that he thought he had forgotten. Blinking his eyes, the image of the face goes away on the screen. Feeling a slight tap on his left shoulder, he looks over and does not see anything. He gets up from his chair, desperately looking around his room for any signs of heresy or evil craft in his presence. Flipping over his bed, chair and sliding the desk back away from the wall. Anything that was not bolted down was in disarray in his room.
Show yourself, I'm not afraid.
Sliding his hand over his bolt pistol.
It took me 20 years to find you, Callus. I am sorry. Should I say Inquisitor Callus? After all, no point in being rude. You are the one who killed the Albatross. The Albatross just wanted to be left alone. I just wanted to fly in the skies. I was doing nothing but helping the Imperium. I just wanted to be left alone like the monster that I am that you helped created. But you kept on messing with the toilet of the Imperium of Man. As they say, you messed with the toilet, you get the janitor. Well, here I am.
Who are you? You have no authority over me.
Like I said earlier, Inquisitor Callus, I am the Alpha and the Omega, and you will never be alone ever again. I am the voices of all the ones you have tortured. I am the lost souls that you had marched into the gates of hell, knowing the calculated loss would be for nothing gained for the Imperium. I am the voice and the spirit of everything you have believed unfit for humanity. But worse of all, you have killed the only Albatross in this entire universe only willing to do good.
Callus rushes to the door, placing both hands on the door handle, desperately pulling at it, but nothing happens. Realizing this, he starts banging on the door.
Guards, open this door! I demand this door to be opened! There is something inside of here!
Oh, I see you found some humility. I see you are opening your own doors now. It is funny how you demand everyone else to open your doors, but when you need your own door to open, you cannot. The irony is flawless as the Grey Knight's own gene seeds themselves.
How? How do you know? There is no way you can know that.
Steps 1 and 2. Looking at you.
Steps 3 and 4. You're at the door. Steps 5 and 6. Looking over your 6. Steps 7 and 8. Your soul looks great. Steps 9 and 10. You will not do this again.
What are you?
Callus looks back over his left shoulder. He sees a shadowy figure with glowing eyes with flames around it. A fiery hand grabs the back of Inquisitor Callus's head, facing him to the computer screen.
Let me show you.
Callus screams like his whole body is being submerged in acid, slowly melting away every nerve and fiber of his being repeatedly. The door to the room opens with two Salamander Space Marines and their weapons drawn. They see Inquisitor Callus down on his knees, with the broken computer screen's glass cutting his face in every direction.
The dark inside me. Make the pain stop.
The two Space Marines look at each other, one giving a slight nod to each other. With all the pain and anguish still felt through his body, Callus looks between the legs of one Space Marine. He sees a servo skull floating there with a recording device where the mouth is at, with a red light recording in the eyes. The skull then turns off its red lights, turns right, proceeds to go down the hall. Right before the buck stroke of the back of a bolter is felt in the head of Inquisitor Callus, he sees the number 40045 on the back of the skull. End of Act 1. Hello, my fellow listeners. Thank you so much for listening to Part 8, Act 1 in my audiobook, The Regiment of the Damned, Sergeant Brock Johnson. I already have Act 2 in the works right now, so editing and uploading will be a little slower, as I'll be getting a new program to put in sound effects. At the same time, I would like to go back and spice up Act 1 and trying to make it into one beautiful masterpiece with sound effects, and with different voices besides the 6 that I'm using right now. The story of astronaut Joel is very special to me, as it represents a great personal accomplishment for myself, and I encourage anyone and everyone to make a short story about the favorite thing in the world and see where it goes. In Act 2, we will be listening to Corporal Todd and his events with Joel. As always, will more questions be answered, or will there only be more questions later? Stay tuned for more Avengers of Astronaut Joel.